Our conversation today is about what happens when you finally achieve one of the biggest goals in your career. You win App of the Year, you build a category defining company, and you realize that you're no longer fulfilled by that role. We talk about the courage it takes to leave the company you love, why founders need periods of stillness and reflection, how entrepreneurship is less about reaching the destination and much more about learning how to stay in the arena. We also get into product channel fit, community as a moat, the risks of platform dependency, and why some of the most important decisions in business happen when you slow down for long enough to hear yourself think. Our guest is Ron Schneidermann from AllTrails and Acely. I'm Adam Callinan. This is Growth Mavericks. Welcome to the Growth Mavericks Podcast, where we know that entrepreneurship isn't just about strategy. It's about stamina. It's about disrupting your default and getting comfortable being uncomfortable so you don't burn out before you break through. I'm your host, Adam Callinan. Let's get to work. How did you end up, at what point did you end up at AllTrails and how did you get there?
I got to go back. So pre AllTrails, I had a startup in the ski space called Liftopia, and I did that for about 9 years. And outdoor tech is really small. We all know each other. And after Liftopia, I took some time off. I took 6 months off, did a little sabbatical, which was wonderful. Can't recommend that enough. And then I did a rebound fling at Yelp. I was just like, I want to not have the weight of payroll on my shoulders for a little bit. And so punched the clock there running growth for about a year, which was great. And when I was there, though, the founder of AllTrails hit me up. And his buddy started one of the big food delivery companies. So he wanted to go do that for a bit and hand someone the keys. I couldn't say no. And so it was a 6-person company doing $500,000 in ARR at the time. Like by no means like the AllTrails of today, like our success was not a foregone conclusion, but I love the space. I love the mission. I saw the opportunity and I just leapt at it.
$500,000 in AR. So what year would this have been?
2015. 2015. Yeah.
Okay. So you get in there. What's the first thing that you do?
Literally the first thing that I do is do a 180 on the brand. And so like it was a crowded space back then. There was actually like quite a few people in the space and they were all catering to the core. They're all catering that same like lone wolf archetype deep in the backcountry, like yard, the depth of our tools. And I found that so uninteresting, especially after 9 years in the ski industry. It was the same kind of thing, right? Like catering the core has its advantages and you can learn a lot and have really good conversations, but they all had very unique product requirements. And in the outdoor space, the core is also living out of their vans, doing the dirtbag life, and they don't really want to pay you all that much for all this custom development, right? And so it can be tricky. It can be a bit of a trap. And so I said, instead of continuing down this path to try and win this like super niche segment, is like, what if we invert it? What if, I grew up outside and I can take for granted spending time outside. I can go out there without hesitation, and I realized like, that's a privilege. All right. It's like, cause I have confidence, I have knowledge and whatever. Right. It's like, well, what if we use this technology to give people confidence and to reduce the barriers to entry and see if we can unlock all of the benefits that someone like me, I'm guessing someone like you can take for granted, and give it to the masses, like how much goodness can come from that. And so it was this 180-degree pivot. It's like, we're for the everyday person. We're for the newbie. And how that manifests is like imagery, copy, product development. We really had to like simplify it and make it feel inclusive for everyone, regardless of age or gender or race or socioeconomic status or any of it. So that was day one.
Did you know that going into it? Do you have a pretty good idea?
I had a pretty good idea and I didn't realize until I really got in under the hood and started like really looking deeply into the product and the roadmap and things like that like we're just not on the right path. That this is going to be a slog and it's, going to be a lot of heavy lifting for not a lot of growth. Whereas like right here is this like beautiful, like deserving, underserved segment that we can immediately go pivot into with just like topical cosmetic changes to start. Again, just like don't use lingo people don't know, change the images. So it's not just like the same like 20-year-old fit white dude in the backcountry, like it's not a heavy lift to do that kind of stuff. And it really started to unlock.
How long did it take once you got in there and did that and made the changes? What was the timeline like before you started to see positive response?
There. So it was probably, it was relatively quick, but I kind of chunk out that chapter of AllTrails. It was kind of like a 2-year window from, I joined in like August, late summer 25. And you got the handshake agreement with the founder was to grow it and sell it. That was like, hey, I think this thing's pretty good. Like with just a little bit of work, famous last word, just a little bit of
Yeah,
work,
of
we can
course.
unlock this and sell it. And I got in there and, noticed a few things again. Like one, there's this huge opportunity in front of us if we can earn the right to unlock it. Two, the product just isn't good enough, and I'm a big outdoors guy. I love backpacking, mountain biking, and day hiking with my kids, all that stuff. I was like, product's not good enough. And so being a product guy, I really, really wanted to make it better. Um, and then it was like, well, gosh, if we're gonna sell it, let's get to profitability. Also, like, I don't want to, easiest time in human history to go raise venture capital, and it's like, counter proposal, let's do this the hard way.
Yeah.
And so it was like this 2-year slog. It was a slog, and we were tiny. It was 6 of us to start, and so when you only have 6 people, you don't have a lot of like capacity and throughput. So you really have to just like force stack rank. And so basically like quarter by quarter, okay, this quarter we're going to focus on sign up rate. We're going to see if we can increase sign up rate. This quarter we're going to focus on bounce rate because SEO is our biggest product channel fit. Like, let's see if we can get more people to stick around. All right, this quarter we'll focus on conversion rate. And you just try and like, there's a million fires around you, a million. And you got to get really comfortable in that discomfort, knowing like I have to live with this part of my house on fire for the next 18 months. And so it's like, what am I most comfortable having on fire and what like must get fixed? And it's just like this sequence of triage, of just like hard triage. And eventually it starts clicking into place. So by 2017, we hit profitability. And then 2018, everything just took off because all the fundamentals were in place. Like we had really like, it's not like it was the company that it is today by then. But again, it's like the fundamentals were in place and we could really start building that foundation to truly scale it.
Having the pieces in place to be able to take advantage of that opportunity for inflection is the part that I think a lot of people miss or don't think about.
Totally agree. I totally agree with you. Yeah. I feel like, product market fit is very important, right? Like you got to have a market that's willing to pay for what it is that you're building. And I think, having good product market fit can get you 0 to 1, no problem. But scaling it is a whole different beast. It's a whole different, and that's really about product channel fit. And it's like, who is going to unlock this for me? How am I going to get this in front of the masses and do it in a way where I can make more money than, what it costs me to do this thing? And that was really the story of AllTrails. Was our product channel fit was so clearly SEO. And for all your listeners today, like, unfortunately, it's a much different era today. That era is gone. That era is gone. And I don't think GEO is replacing it like in the near term. But back then, it was so clear that like we had this tremendous opportunity with, there's the head term like trails near me, stuff like that, but just this huge long tail of queries around trails and parks and things like that. Best dog friendly trails in San Diego, whatever, right? Like, so we really, really invested in programmatic SEO. We spent a lot of time investing in programmatic SEO and just trying to like get more incremental gains from that core channel. And then that was our foundation, right? So that was those 2 years was really leaning into that. And additionally though, like through the brand elevation and the simplification, the reduction of friction in the UI UX, try and unlock things like with the word of mouth coefficient. That does still exist today. And it's a really squishy thing. But we knew like, all right, like so long as our customers are happy and we're meeting their need, they're going to talk about us on the trail. They're going to talk about us. And so it was a bit of a leap of faith too. And then you start getting into the paid stuff and all that, like just trying to bend the curve a little bit. But for the first few, I didn't spend a dime on paid marketing for my first 3 years there. There was no point. We weren't ready for it.
Yeah. In the first 3 years, that's like 2015 into 18. The paid media models changed dramatically over that course of time. In 2014, 15 was like the heyday of Facebook, where you almost couldn't spend it fast enough.
Yeah.
And obviously that is a completely different world today. But through 2018, I mean, you still had opportunity there in the paid.
That was like when Apple search ads just launched in 2018. So I was like, okay, I'll start with, I got pissed off seeing competitors bidding on AllTrails. So I was like, all right, I'll start with doing like a defensive shield. And that was the gateway drug that just like, well, I can start going into all these different other areas. And that one's easy, because you're really just talking about like bid management. Like you don't, something like Meta, there's a lot of breakage points. You have like your account set up and you have your bid management segmentation. Then you have the creative and then you have the landing page. And there's just like, if one piece breaks, the whole thing breaks, and it's really hard to figure out like, is it bad channel or just a shitty implementation on my side?
And then sometimes an algorithm in the back end just says, you're off. Like we'll just enter it off. You violated a thing. Can't tell you what. Can't tell you how to fix it. You're just violated.
That happens. And it's
I know. It happened to us a number of times. It always seemed to happen right around the holidays, which was like the critical time we had to hit a grand slam right at the holidays. Yeah. So we'd have to run 2 separate ad accounts and always have one on standby in case the first one exploded for an unknown, uncontrollable reason.
I talked a lot about that at AllTrails. And at Acely, I talk about it now too, which is, like you got to lean into your product channel fit and at the same time recognize that like these are big tech platforms that don't care about you and more likely than not are going to try and come into your space regardless. You can get kneecapped at any point, right? At any point. And so the urgency around diversification and like really owning that customer touch point it's so critical. Because again, like whether it's, building a business on Meta, building a business on SEO, on SEM, on TikTok, whatever, like an algorithm change, or they decide like they like your space a little too much, you get cut out like that. And there's no warning, there's no recourse, And so again, just like not getting caught flat footed more. It happens one time. Okay, cool. Now I know, right? And then you just go and get that like durability and resilience as quickly as you can.
It seems like today, operating in an entirely different world from a customer acquisition and paid media standpoint, that you almost can't build it in a single channel like you used to be able to. I mean, this is something we got in trouble with at Bottlekeeper because the Meta stuff, before it was called Meta, Facebook, worked so well and we could not spend money fast enough. The result of which is we got completely dependent on it until those things started happening and we had to diversify and get into other channels. But, that was a reactive response, not a proactive response. Today, you can't build a model directly just on paid media anymore. So there's almost like based on the fact that they work less efficiently is a forcing function to have much more diversification early on. Do you agree with that? I
completely agree. I mean, this is like a very personal relevant statement. My new startup at Acely, I've been here just about a year. And I took it over last August. And last year, so Acely was launched in 2024. Last year was 300% year-on-year growth. Like it was gangbusters, right? It was all basically built on Meta. And this year, I'm still kind of new in the seat. I'm still learning my way around this thing, but it was like very clear that this is not a durable, scalable foundation for us to go become the company that I know we can become. And, again, like one Meta change, that October, Andromeda, when, it's like, hey, we're going to black box it. You got to trust us. Yep.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, you could be a smart marketer and find alpha somewhere and kind of win, like exploit a channel, right? Like you could be more clever than at least like the bulk of your competition, nowadays, like between both Meta and Google are like, they black boxed it, and you can't, it's very hard. I'm sure there's some listeners out there like, you idiot, I already did, like, I'm sure.
No,
Um,
I don't. I
but
mean,
for us,
there are ways to do it, but which which we can talk about online or offline, but they require access to things that small companies don't have access to.
it's yeah, exactly. And it's really, really hard. So it's like, you know what? It's funny. I'm a growth guy. And I kind of spiked growth this year. It's like, nope, we need to rebuild this foundation for something more diversified and again, more durable, more ownable, more scalable. Because if we're just going to build this off the back of Meta, we're never going to be free, and we're never going to become the company that I think we can be. And so it's been this like, cool, eyes wide open, right? And this is, I don't know, tricks of the trade, I guess, being like seasoned and having gone through like so many ups and downs. Just like, I can get comfortable in that discomfort pretty quickly. And just like, all right, like 6 months, we're going to be heads down. It's intentionally not going to grow. We're going to build and invest in what we need to do. And then we'll go let it rip on the other side. And so I totally feel that challenge. I'm sure a lot of your listeners are going through the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, my now business Pentane, all of our clients are going through that exact same thing. They're all consumer brands, from effectively startup. Most of them are doing at least 1 million in revenue, up to about 20 million in revenue, and they get trapped in the Meta Google ecosystem. And I mean, we've had to create a whole entire separate product function through partnerships to be able to give them the access to those things that big, huge companies have access to, so they can diversify off of Meta and Google. Because it's like this tiny little sandbox. There's a whole world of sandbox, but you only have access to this tiny little one, and you can't get out, you can't get over the wall. It's
Yeah.
So if we look back, before I do want to talk about Acely and get into that, but like if we look back at AllTrails, you get in 2015, it's 2.5 million in revenue. How did, once you got past the brand rebuild, which surely wasn't just like it starts on this day and is done on this day. I bet it just sort of kind of went on for forever, and it's like one of those things that you just tweak and tweak and tweak. How long did it take for the revenue to really respond? I mean, in 2000, can you give us like a picture of what the revenue change was over the course of the next 5 years?
So 2015, we were doing about 500,000 in revenue. By 2018, we're north of 10 mil in ARR. That's the nice thing about a subscription business is, when you have good retention metrics, it's like it just compounds, and like I had never done a subscription business before. I'd done marketplaces like a sucker. Marketplaces are so much harder. They're so much harder, right? And you're constantly the supply side and the demand side, and everything's just like a one-time transaction. And golly, that's a much tougher business. A subscription, like a good consumer subscription business with like strong retention rates it changes everything, especially those first few years where, again, we weren't spending a dime on marketing. It was all 100% organic. And so that was really our superpower, and then we had a good moat. We had a very good moat, and that was the UGC. And I think about durability a lot. I think about like, before I came to Acely, right, I want to do something AI native. It's like, whoa, okay, everything's different today. That's like the biggest truism ever.
Totally. Yeah.
But it's like product isn't the mode anymore, because anyone can go vibe code a knockoff of what at least the front end, the UI piece, like in a day, right? And so it's like, okay, product isn't the mode anymore. It's like, well, what is it? I think brand equity, I think community, I think, UGC, things like that. Like those are real. Those are real modes. And so in AllTrails, during those, those quarterly spikes, things like that, like we were constantly like, how do we increase the rate of UGC submissions? Because it just felt like that was going to be this vicious, what's the opposite of a vicious cycle? The good virtuous cycle.
Yeah.
That's going to be a virtuous cycle where the more ratings we have, the more reviews we have, the more photos we have, the more it helps our SEO, and two, the more it pulls people into our ecosystem, gets them to stick around also. So we really invested a lot of time in community engagement, so that it was very important. I have this hypothesis. you and I, we've been around the block for a while. And so we've seen a lot of these different community enabled platforms come and go, right? Like Foursquare was such a thing
Uh-huh.
until it just wasn't,
So it was.
and
Yeah.
I love Yelp, but like Yelp is not the same company it was 10 years ago. And, TripAdvisor was like the rule of travel and, it's noisy. So these community platforms, they come and go. And that was what kept me up at night more than anything at AllTrails, which is like, what is it that causes your community to leave? Because once they leave, I think it's impossible to get them back. Like if you're a community driven platform, once your community leaves, I don't know how you like plug the leak. And that would really, it would literally would keep me up at night. And what I ultimately like kind of settled on is that it's a symbiotic relationship. It's a symbiotic relationship between the company and the community. And the community needs to believe and needs to see that the company is investing in improving the experience as quickly as humanly possible, right? That it's not static, that they're not taking their community members for granted, that it's just like a one-way take model. Like it's got to be like we're both investing in this and like, hey, community, I see you. I'm grateful for you. We're going to build these things. You want dark mode? We're going to build dark mode for you, right? Like you want this, we got you, right? And I think through that, like it creates this like very positive, I don't know, like it's a partnership. It's a partnership. So we spent a lot of time on that. And again, I think that's why it led to this, like, again, like ownable, scalable, defensible moat on the UGC side, which is like, man, the bigger we get, the stronger we get, the faster we move, the harder it is for anyone else to kind of come into our space and try and catch up because you're always going to be playing catch up. And so long as we don't lose sight of the community, and it's always like the community first, I think that's going to be like our defensibility. And it worked. It's a little different today, but for AllTrails and for that model, man, did that.
When did you leave AllTrails?
I left start of 25, January 25,
Oh, so pretty recently,
pretty recently.
about a year ago. Okay.
Yeah. 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 And so that was, 9.5 years. I feel like I think everything has its course. Everything has its natural curve to it. And it was funny, man. I mean, just in the spirit of transparency, right? Hopefully like this resonates with your audience and stuff. I'm going to real talk. I started 2024 was a hard year for me. It was a hard year for me. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and we'd won app of the year in 2023. That was like this goal I had set for so long. I wouldn't calm on it. I was like, I want that. I'm going to get that. Right. And that was a huge fucking deal. Like 2 million apps in the app store, ChatGPT, like we beat them. We beat Duolingo. Like that was a big fucking deal. And I was like, wow, man, like I did it. We did it. That was awesome. And I go into 2024 and it's like, I don't feel great. Like what's going on? What's the matter with me? And it was one of those things like the first half of the year, I was like, I just need to be more grateful. I just need to work harder. I just need to push this down and bottle it up. I was like, man, there's 10,000 people that would kill for my job. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I love this company. I love this brand. I love this team. I love this product. I love our mission. I love the space. I use it weekly, like everything, just get all the boxes are checked, but like something was off. Something was off. And I kind of realized, I don't know. I went backpacking over the summer. I do it every year. It helps clear my head. I cannot recommend it enough. Hey, audience, like get off of your screens and just go in nature and unplug for a few days and slow down to speed up. Like it's amazing what it will do to give you clarity, especially if you're grappling with something, even subconsciously, right? It was just kind of this nagging in the back of my head. And I came back from backpacking. I was like, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. Like this is a natural thing and it's okay. And it's okay. And it's like, I can love this company. I can love this team and I can love this product and this mission and everything. And also recognize, I'm not getting the personal satisfaction from this phase of the company's trajectory that I was a few years ago. And that's, CEO, it's a funny role because the more you grow, kind of the more you have to let go of all the things that you love, all the things that help get you to where you are. And when you get past a certain size, one, you're alone on an island, which is just hard. And two, like, I'm not CEO catch it has too big of a shadow to go into the weeds and like brainstorm with your team and, push pixels and like push designs and marketing strategy and all that stuff. Like you hire world-class amazing people, you got to get out of their way, right? Like you can't go in because you cast too big of a shadow. It's too much weight on the thumb of the scales, right? Like when you say something like, well, shit, the CEO said that, so now we got to do it. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm just one person. Like, but it doesn't matter how many times you say that. It's too weighty. And I get it. I get it. And so you kind of end up like, at least for me, like just working on things that didn't bring me the most joy. And so it was kind of like, okay, I think company's in a great spot. I got an amazing executive team. I've got a good relationship with my board. I'm gonna transition myself out. And it was a weird thing. And I got a lot of people like, what the fuck are you doing?
Mhm.
But I also, after my first startup, um, I kind of like, I don't give a fuck anymore what anyone thinks about me who's not in my inner circle. Like you go up, if you're lucky enough to be on like a startup that's going up and gets a little bit of gravity around it, like you get hanger-ons, which is cool, like people come into your orbit. Not all of them have great intentions. And it's like, someone who's not going to be for me on the other side of this, like, what the fuck do I care what they have to say about me right now? And so like, I think I'm grateful. Like it was through, again, like decades of experience at this point, but I was able to kind of like push aside, like, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing? And just like, yeah, I don't care. I don't care. Care about what my wife thinks. I care about what my kids think. I have like this like very small inner circle of people that I seek counsel from. I was like, yeah, this is what's best for me right now. And so I'm going to do it. And it was wonderful because I was able to leave with so much gratitude and appreciation and love in my heart. Like sometimes you hang on too long and things get bitter, things get acrimonious. It's like, I don't want any of that. Like I'm so happy and proud of what we're able to do. And I didn't want any negative, seeds of negativity, like taking root and tainting this beautiful thing that I was fortunate enough to be a part of. You know what I mean? That was like very, very important to me. And so that was what was great. So I was able to kind of transition out in January. I took a sabbatical. I took 7 months, which was rad. And then kind of come up and like, what gives me joy? What do I want to do?
Quick break, and this one is personal. Your ROAS is lying to you. I know this because mine lied to me for years. When I was building Bottle Keeper, I'd see a 4x ROAS or 5x ROAS, and I think we were absolutely crushing it. When we get to the end of the month, we'd see our P&L, and we barely broke even. Now, the dashboards and the platforms, all the things would say one thing. The bank account and the P&L said something entirely different. They were disconnected. The problem wasn't ads. It wasn't marketing efficiency. It's that those output metrics like ROAS and MER, they don't account for all the stuff that crushes your margins. These are things that are shipping and fulfillment, credit card fees, Shopify fees, the marketing agency we're using, the paid media itself. That's the only thing that ROAS accounts for. But there's all these other expenses. So I built this framework that starts with net profit and works backwards to tell you exactly how to spend ad budget and how the ROAS needs to perform in order to hit your net profit target. These aren't benchmarks. It's literally your numbers and expenses based on what's happening in your business. And best of all, I'm giving these secrets away for free in a profit masterclass that I created recently. It's the exact system I used at Bottle Keeper to get to over 60 million in total sales with just 4 employees and 0 investors, ultimately to a private equity acquisition. So you can find this profit masterclass at pentane.com. But for now, let's get back to the show. Man, so much in there. We have a lot of similarities. I had a very, very similar experience at Bottle Keeper. We had been doing it for 8.5 years, and the things that I was spending most of my time doing, I didn't like doing anymore. It was patent infringement things and legal stuff and not being creative and solving the kind of problems that I didn't like solving. And that led to our being open to acquisition, and that happened. And then I also took a very forced, I wouldn't call it sabbatical, but I took time to do nothing for a while and let things evolve. Did that 7-month sabbatical, was that preordained? Did you like sit down and say, I'm taking 7 months, or did it just happen to be 7 months until the next thing?
No. I broke it up into 2 chapters. And the first chapter was like, I want to do nothing for a little bit. Like, I want to just straight up like do nothing. And I want to shed this AllTrails skin and just get back into being Ron Schneidermann, not AllTrails Ron, just me. I wanted to break some habits. Like, I don't know about you, dude, but like, I was picking up my phone like every like 45 seconds, like, oh, Slack, I was doing it for like the first week after. It's like, no one's trying to reach me. What am I doing? So I needed to like break up with my phone. I deleted Slack. I hit my inbox. Like, that was wonderful. And I just wanted to like, I don't know. I had this mentor, years ago after I left my first startup. And he's like, Ron, you're like this air hockey puck. You're like bouncing around the table. You need to come to a stop and then figure out what's next. Like, damn, that's wise. Um, so that was kind of the goal. And it wasn't like 3 months. It's just like, I'm just going to do it till I'm bored. I'm just going to do nothing till I'm bored. And I got 3 kids. So it's not like do you go down to Patagonia and like just lose yourself for like a month? I was like, I would have loved to, but no, I was driving to La Crosse 5 days a week. And that was great. I was cooking dinners. I was reading during the day. I day hiked. I definitely like saw all of the Bay Area greatest hits on AllTrails that I finally got the chance to experience. That was a ton of fun. Um, and I thought it would actually go longer. But we were on spring break my daughter is going to be a senior in college or in high school. Well, senior in high school, but we were doing all the college stuff. And so we're in New Orleans checking out Tulane and Austin checking out UT. And I kept waking up at like 3 a.m. It was like, what's going on? What's going on? I do that. Like my subconscious is like, hey, wake up. And it hit me. It's like, oh, I'm bored. Like I'm done. I'm done with this selfish part of my journey. And I miss that part of my brain. And I miss talking to cool people doing interesting things, it's like, all right. So then I was like, okay, this chapter is done. And now I need to go forth and figure it out. And the way I kind of thought about it, I think you'll appreciate this actually, Adam. I was like, I got a compass, but no map, like my compass is my core values. It's what I know I'm good at. Again, consumer, scaling, not 0 to 1. It's got to be mission driven. I knew my strengths. I knew my weaknesses. That was like my compass. And then the map was like, I got to go fill this in. I just need to start talking to people. So I put this LinkedIn post out there. It was like, hey, anyone want to talk? Like I had, I don't know if you dealt with this at your startup too. I would get like 20, 30 inbounds a week on LinkedIn when I was CEO of AllTrails, being like, hey, I'd love to pick your brain. And I had to say no all the time. And it gave me a lot of heartburn. Like it really it messed with me because I was like, oh my God, like this is such a beautiful thing. People are coming to me for advice and like counsel. And I'm saying no. I really struggled with it. My VP of people, Doreen, was like the best ever. Like she was basically my therapist, but she's like, yeah, no, time preservation, you can't do this. But here I was flushed with time. So it was like, anyone who wants to talk, let's talk. And I had, no joke, over 200 Zooms like that. Like I was doing like 20 to 30 hours a week of Zooms. I'm actually a pretty introverted person. But I found it very restorative. Just again, I never knew what I was watching. Sometimes it's like a private equity fund looking for intel. Sometimes a VC startups trying to recruit me, whatever. Or just like a kid, like in college trying to figure out what they want to do, or like a struggling entrepreneur be like, I don't know if I should let go or not. And it was just like, I don't know, man, every day it was just like, wow, like that was a really enriching day. But over the course of that, the map started to kind of fill in and seeds were planted. And I'm a big believer in the universe presenting itself. And that's what happened with Aisley.
Yeah, more incredible parallels in there. Exactly. Like I had a wise sage. I was a performance coach who was a 75-year-old gangster, just said, look, you have to sit still and do nothing for a while. And it's going to hurt and you're going to hate it, but you have to do it. And he like brute forced me to do it. So I got into woodworking, like just doing random stuff, and woke up one day 5 months later and realized that my brain was melting. Yeah. Like I went to him, I was like, Dr. Jeff, my hardest decision today was what to have for breakfast, and I'm losing my mind. He said, okay, it's time. He called it soft offense. Exactly what you did. Just go start push. Go and push gently. And I went
Yeah.
to companies that we had invested in and just said, can I look under the hood? Can I help? And they said, yeah. And that like kicked off this whole next chapter.
It's such a gift. If anyone who's listening, if you ever get the opportunity to take a like, I feel like the second you get into the work stream, like we get stuck in this current, if you're lucky enough, you just get like a sequence of like, you get recruited in and this opportunity present and you just go, 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 go. And the opportunity to just get out of the current and just stand on the bank a little bit and just like catch your breath, reconnect with who you are, what gives you joy, what gives you energy, and then go back in and have like some agency and some control. Like it's a gift. I've done it twice. And it's like two of my favorite things ever in my career were both of those opportunities.
You mentioned in earlier on the value that you have had from getting out into nature, going out on backpacking. Is that a thing, that you mentioned doing it at least once a year, doing like a multi-day thing? Do you do that alone or do you do that with a friend, a spouse, a kid?
I've done both. I do my annual backpacking trip is with a couple college buddies and a high school friend. So we have the same crew. We go every year. That's awesome. We're going to do the Teton Crest Trail this year. Very excited about that. So I do that, but then I love solo camping, solo backpacking. So maybe 3 weeks after I left AllTrails, I actually did a 4-day solo little walkabout in Death Valley by myself. And it was perfect. It was exactly what I needed. My first sabbatical, after Liftopia, after my first startup, I went and did the Nepali Coast Trail by myself for a week, and I just posted up out there. And again, like, I don't know, man, like you put your phone away and you just breathe and just sit and, think or not think, right. It's the time and the slowness is a gift. And again, it's through the slowness that like, then you can go and speed back up. But I think it's really important to like take yourself out every now and then. That's like, there's this thing, AllTrails was kind of known for one of my favorite things about AllTrails. The first Friday of every month, we actually close the office for trail day. And so we shut it down and it's like, hey, just go hiking or skiing or mountain biking or whatever, go rafting, just like, but get away from your computer. We had a big distributed remote team, like meet up with other folks in your area and just go outside. And then, we had a Slack group for when people came back and wanted to share, if they were dog fooding the latest QA build or a competitor's product or like, oh my God, it'd be so cool. Some of the best ideas came from it. But the biggest thing about it was just giving people that time to just like step away, think, not think, whatever, and then come back invigorated. And it was like, I think it was like a secret sauce of our culture and what drove so much of the growth and made AllTrails what it is today.
That's an amazing forcing function. I mean, there's something, you talk about like taking a sabbatical, which inherently typically means it's a much longer period of time. So it's hard to do this in the context in which I'm about to explain this. But removing yourself from your environment is a critical piece of that. Now, doing that for 4 or 5 months, maybe that's not realistic. I also have young kids, so that's not going to happen. But I do a couple of times a year go out and disappear into the woods. It's usually hunting related, archery or whatever, with a buddy on horseback. And we just go out in the middle, in some literally like the Crazies is the mountain range. We did this in this last fall and just disappear on horseback up into the mountains for 5 days. And it's the detachment from your space that is one of the things that is really valuable. I think it's really hard, even if you try to put your phone in the drawer, to get the value from turning it off, if you're in your own space. And there's just something crazy weird about nature and the universe and being out in the woods.
And it just makes you feel human. I mean, sitting in front of a screen all day is not what we're wired to do. Like psychologically, we're not built for that. And so just getting back in again, what you do is not accessible to everyone. Like that's badass.
Of
Super
course.
badass, but not accessible to everyone. So it doesn't have to be like crazy. It doesn't have to be backpacked. It doesn't have to be any of that, but it's just like, get outside, get into nature, even if it's just like a little nearby park, like just go for long walks without headphones in. I tell that to people all the time, like just slow walk with no headphones in. and just like, it's amazing how you're going to come back. And again, you might not feel like it might just feel like white noise or like silence, but you're going to come back and like things are going to be unlocked that you've been battling with or stuck on, things like that. And so I'm with you. Like you have to get away from the computer. You have to get outside. You got to get some sunlight on your skin. You got to see some trees, hear some birds. Just good for the soul. And that's how we're wired. Like that's what we're built for.
Do you 100% agree with that, to be clear? And I fully, deeply appreciate that my access to Montana is not typical, and that whatever that and I'm not riding a horse, every day up into the woods. Like that's a couple times a year thing that I am fortunate to be able to do. Just getting away from whatever your baseline is, just get out, get your blood moving, get into the sun. Do you have a forcing function for that? Like, do you, set an alarm every hour and a half that says go outside, or is it just a thing that's sort of inherent to you now?
I wish. I got 2 dogs. That's nice. They,
Okay.
I guess like a walk in my neighborhood twice a day, but it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. We're all kind of works in progress. There's lots of stuff like I should do push-ups every day and I don't. I should meditate every day and I don't. I should stretch every day and I don't. I should practice gratitude every day and I don't. Like there's all these things like I should be doing, and I don't consistently, but I try, I try.
There's an interesting thing in there that I learned from my experience with Dr. Jeff over the year that he and I were together. And that is, I am the exact same. Like I should meditate for 20 minutes a day. I should write 2 pages in a journal every single day. I should ... And I end up getting in this routine where I don't do them because I'm mentally attached to the duration, or I'm mentally attached to the amount, which is the wrong framing. It's like, isn't 2 minutes is better than nothing? Like literally anything is better than nothing, which has really been helpful for me to kind of reframe how I look at that activity. And those things that can be really helpful, even if they're in tiny little bursts.
I think that's a great call out. And I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna connect it to entrepreneurism, which is I think underneath all that is this notion of just like taking it easy on yourself. And I think as entrepreneurs, as founders, as execs, like we're really, really hard on ourselves. Like if you're gonna succeed, it means like you got an internal motor, right? Like, and chances are, I mean, just speaking for myself, like I am harder on myself than anyone else will ever be ever, right? Like, and I think a lot of us are wired that way. And I think it's this notion of like, I'm not perfect. And I'll chase progress over perfection. I'll chase like little incremental improvements. Like it's all good. It's all good. And I think that part of this journey that we're on as entrepreneurs is kind of like learning to kind of figure out those little things in order to make this sustainable. Cause otherwise it's just too fucking hard. Like this is a hard arena that we compete in. I think about it a lot in terms of like, professional sports, probably like Hollywood, politics at like a national level, like those are, very cutthroat. But entrepreneurship, you're talking about like the smartest people on the planet coming and, trying to like get a startup off the ground. Like the bar couldn't be higher. The level of competition, intellectual competition couldn't be higher. You got, these kids that are 996ing, they don't know what the fuck they're doing, but like they're putting in the hours, and so like, it's really hard to stay in the arena. And I try and I figured this out a while ago. Is like, startups are going to come and go. Some of them you're going to make money on, some of them you're not going to at all. But it's really about this journey. And it is like a through line. It is this continual through line journey about the things that you learn, the people you meet, like, through the mistakes, through the hardships, that makes you like stronger and smarter and more resilient. And that's part of the growth. So like even the bad things are like these amazing like growth opportunities. Like that's all, it's the journey. It's the journey. There's no real finish line. When you sell your company or you hit a certain ARR multiple, like that's not a finish line. Like, all right, now the goalposts have just moved,
Exactly.
like
Yeah. It's
there's
just
no
the end of
finish.
the chapter. It literally is just the end of the chapter. That's it.
Yeah. And then it's on to the next thing. And so I think being able to have that longer view and view is like, this is my career. Like, again, things are going to come and go. But I want to stay in the arena and I want to stay competitive. I want to be able to compete, which means like, I got to figure out how to pace myself, and that's hard. And it's these little things like yeah, I'm not perfect and I'm not going to beat myself over mistakes. I'm not going to worry about 20 minutes of meditation, but 2 minutes is better than the 0 minutes that I did yesterday. So like, all right. Right. And I think it's just like these little tricks that you figure out how to be a little easier on yourself because again, if you can't be easy on like no one else is. Right. And so it's got to start with yourself.
You looked at I'm going to do a really awkward transition here because I do want to talk about Acely. When I mean, honestly, Ron, like I could spend 10 more podcasts talking about nothing other than the last 20 minutes of what we just talked about because it
Well,
is
let's
such
see
a
it.
hugely critical, profound part of my life and the journey that I have gone through as an entrepreneur and having had, I'm using air quotes for those of you not on video, like success and been miserable and had to learn through that and change. And I'm a dramatically better human and dad and husband and operator as a result of those changes. So I think they're important to talk about and share. But I do want to talk. So maybe we need to have like a part two that's
Sure.
nothing but like talking about the tactical realities of entrepreneurship. But I do want to get into Acely because I do think it is a really interesting concept, and I'm particularly interested in your position on the state and how Acely looks at preparing people for higher education in this. I feel like we're kind of in this odd, interesting transitionary period in and around the validity of higher education,
Yeah.
and I kind of interested in your take on that. So why don't we start by just explaining what Acely does, and we can go from there.
Yeah. So AC today is AI enabled test prep for the SAT and ACT. Right. And so it's like it's pretty straightforward. It's like creating like personalized and adaptive plans kind of like at a fraction of the cost of a tutor. And so this is a world that I'm living through right now. I got 3 kids. My oldest is about to turn 17. She's gonna be a senior next year. And this was one of those things where we started kind of test prep for sophomore year. And it was the same books that you and I had when we were kids, like just gathering dust in the corner of her room. And she's such a smart kid, but it's like, what do I care about this test? It's like, no, dude, you don't get it. Like this matters. And we got a tutor and the group tutoring. She hated it. We got a private tutor. She hated it. I was like, at my wit's end, like, I don't know what to do. Because if you don't take this test seriously, like, doesn't matter how smart you are, like, you're not going to get in the schools that you want to go to. And so I was advising an ed tech company in the UK at the time. They're like, oh, dude, you should check out this startup called Acely. It's 20 minutes a day. Um, and so I was like, I got nothing else to lose. Showed my wife, she's like, we got nothing else to lose. And it raised her score 160 points. 160 points, man. It went from a 1390 to a 1550. And it was just like, this was before I started working there, right? And so this was like I said earlier, like I believe in the universe, like presenting opportunities, you just gotta see it. When I was out planting seeds, I talked to this one VC. I love 400 Ventures. I think they're one of the best venture capital shops in the business. And I was talking to the managing director there, telling her like, I want consumer and AI native and mission driven. She's like, one, good luck with that. And two, like, we'll see. And then a few weeks later, she's like, you're not going to believe this, but I actually think I have the thing for you. I was like, oh, what you got? She's like, well, it's an ed tech. I was like, I don't know shit about ed tech, but okay. And then she started explaining, yeah, it's this AI test prep for SAT and ACT called ACE. Is like, stop right there. You're not going to believe this. We love this. We've been using it. And it's just like, all right, universe, I see what you're doing. I got you. And so I think about it a lot. Like you're right. The state of higher education is changing, and it's going to be fascinating to see. I think the contraction of it, because I think not everyone needs to go, and especially whatever. I can't pretend I have a crystal ball, but I do think that like there is a rise and a need for blue collar jobs and apprenticeships and things. And it's great that they're being destigmatized, right? Like it's a wonderful thing. So more and more people should just go and explore that. That's great. Not everyone needs like a 4-year liberal arts education. Not everyone does. Um, but there's always going to be a need. And I think it's one of the best things that our country does is our higher education system. And so, it's really fascinating, right? Because during 2020, a lot of these schools were like, just threw up their hands like, we can't, just stop with it. Don't worry about the test. Like, we'll figure it out. We'll get you in. And within a couple of years, it's like, nope, we've made a terrible mistake. We have calibration, right? There's this whole thing from the UCs that just came out couple weeks ago, like, kids are in calculus and they need to do remedial math. And like, we are setting these kids up to fail. And it's actually like incredibly inequitable. And I do believe that. I don't think there's anything inequitable about the tests themselves, but I think there is inequitable access to test prep. And it's because, again, tutors have historically been out of reach. And so what struck me when I was sitting in some of these tutor sessions was like, AI can realistically do like 80% of this. And again, like at a fraction of the cost, which means like you can make it just more accessible to the masses. And like AllTrails, like everyone deserves a right to the holistic health benefits that come from time outside. It's like tear down the barriers. Same here. Like any kid who wants to put in the time and like get mastery of the test and like unlock the opportunities of higher education through that, like give them the chance, right? So the mission piece was like, it deeply resonated with me, and like being able to like really bring it out to the masses. So it was one of those things, man, like we were talking about earlier about like the parts that give you joy, right? Like when you look over the life cycle of your business, and when I was kind of thinking about what's next, I was like, I love it when it's small. I love it when you're just in a room with your people and you're just all whiteboarding and like no one gives a fuck about titles. It's just like smart people, like aligned and passionate and curious. And like that to me is as good as it gets. Like being in a room with your people whiteboarding is as good as it gets, you know? And I was like, that's all I want to do. I want to feel that energy. I want to feel that like, yeah, we're all in this together. There's no like weird hierarchies. There's none of the noise that comes from being later stage or, private equity backed or big VC or any of that. It's just like, I just want to be building with cool people that I like and respect, that hopefully like and respect me back, And so it was funny. Like I the same kind of thing. Like when I left AllTrails, like, dude, what do you do? Same thing. It's like, why aren't you going to bigger? You can go to these big, I was like, I don't want to go to the big company. Like I want to go small. I want to be in the trenches with my people, building and figuring out how to scale this thing. Like that's what gives me the most joy.
Yeah, that again, same, that resonates a lot. I can't imagine having left that early grind, which is the best part.
It's the best part.
Just the best part.
I know. And that's the thing when you're in it for the journey, right? Like when you're not in it for anything other than like the experience itself, right? Like, and you really have that honest question, what gives me joy? What part, what stage, what phase, what gives me the most joy? And then just go seek that, go get it.
So how's Acely doing? You've been there only a couple of months or
Almost a year. Almost a year.
Okay.
At the end of this summer. Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's hard, right? It's wild. AI. So like I said, I was specifically looking for AI native, which meant like not just like the product itself, but like how you build it. How you scale it or how you think about scaling a team. I mean, I'll say this: with 10 people, we're shipping at a higher velocity than I think anything I ever saw on AllTrails. And that's not AllTrails was flying. That's not a knock on AllTrails, but it's just again like tooling, process, even the composition of people who are going to succeed. It's like it's much less about pedigree and what you've done, more as like a mindset, which is like curious, creative, humble, because you recognize like everything you know is out the window, right? Like I am constantly humbled. Like, man, it doesn't matter what I did at AllTrails because like that's not going to win here. That's just not. It's just a different ball game altogether. And so, it's just been a ton of fun, learning a ton. I've been very fortunate to be able to like pull in some people much smarter than me, who I get to learn from. I've been spending a lot of time on hiring and team composition and just like really bringing in bar raisers who are also like full stack doers, that takes time. But that's been like probably the biggest area of focus this first year, just getting the right people in the right seats and then getting out of their way and letting them let it rip.
I mean, it seems like a perfect place for AI to live. The collection of information,
right?
And
We're done well. Dude, because this is the other thing I saw with my daughter's like, man, there's apps where it's like you take a snapshot of your homework and it like spits out the answer. And I was like, I hate this. Everything about this.
Yeah.
Fuck you who built this and anyone else who invested. Like, fuck you. Like, this is not making the world a better place. And there's too much of that. And it's like, I'm sure you've seen this, right? Like dudes working in, or, people working in, like social media that won't let their kids use it. It's like, how do you square that circle then? How do you live like that? Right? Like working on things that you won't let your own kids use, but you're willing to unleash it. I've never been able to reconcile that ever.
I
And
don't,
so
yeah,
again, thinking through like AI and ed tech in particular is like, there's two sides. There's two sides. You're either on the side of good or you're on the side of evil. It's like, it's a binary thing, and there's way too much on the bad side. And so again, being able to throw my time and energy, at least, trying to make it a little bit better. Again, something through the lens of like, again, I think it's not beneficial to society if we can pull off what I think we can do. And so, I'm going to give it my best.
yeah, I look forward to watching that play out. We are certainly in agreement on the world of AI and its place. My kids are younger than your kids, so we're, I have a 7 and a 5-year-old trying to. I mean, I'm a science guy, so like everything is about process and being, applying creativity to problem solving, which AI tries to do and fails at miserably an awful lot of the time. And unless you know the answer to the question, you don't know that it's failing. And trying to instill that into spending a lot of times working on the installation process into little ones. But it's an interesting world. Amazing. Well, we'll make sure we have show notes on Acely and everything. Where else do you want people to find you and find the company?
Sorry, it just froze. I miss, if you could
No,
rewind.
totally fine. When we're, I'll add this in here since I'll edit this stuff out. When we're done, don't hang up. We have to wait for it to upload if you haven't done a Riverside.
Okay, cool.
But no, the question, where do you want people to find you and find Acely? We'll make sure all the links and everything are in the show notes.
Oh, Acely.com. Check us out. I'm not on social media. I like my privacy. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. But that's about it. Find me on the trail.
I am the exact same. I had no social media apps on my phone for the longest time, and I made like the tactical error of adding them back in maybe 6 months ago to solve some specific thing, and it was immediate. I mean, within 2 weeks, I was like, I can't handle it. I can't do it. It's just the worst.
Yeah.
For me, at least, and obviously for you as well. So cheers to that. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Ron. Thanks for all the honesty, the deep stories. Again, I could spend a huge amount of time just talking about all the strategy around that. So thanks for bringing it.
My pleasure. Let's run it back. This was fun. This was real fun. Enjoyed
Indeed.
it.
Thanks, Ron.
Yeah, my pleasure.
A huge thanks to our guests today. Don't forget, this is powered by Pentane Financial and Advertising Command Center for Consumer Brands. Stop what you're doing, put your phone down, walk away from the computer screen, go outside, get some air, do something hard, push your limits, get uncomfortable, become more durable and more resilient, create the stamina required to get through those entrepreneurial barriers, stay in the game for as long as you can, and we will see you next time.